Have you ever stopped to think about what happens to all of the stuff our modern world creates? From the byproducts of advanced manufacturing to the simple trash we toss out, there's a whole world of unseen heroes managing it. So let's pull back the curtain and find out what an environmental engineer actually does.
And look, the reality is our progress comes at a cost. Every single product, every industrial process, it all generates waste. And we're not talking about small amounts here. We're talking about literal mountains of it. Everything from everyday trash to really complex industrial materials that have to be handled just right.
You know, it's not even just about the new waste we're making today. Decades of industry have left some serious scars on the land. Just think about old gas stations, abandoned factories. These places can leak hazardous stuff into the ground, creating environmental problems that stick around for generations.
So who on Earth steps up to fix these massive challenges? Who has the know-how to blend science, biology, and pure engineering to clean up the messes from the past and design smarter systems for our future?
Well, say hello to the environmental engineer. These are the folks who are, quite literally, the architects of a cleaner planet. They're applying their skills to tackle some of the biggest environmental puzzles out there.
What's so incredible about them is how many different fields they have to master. This isn't just one specialty. They're blending engineering with soil science, biology, and chemistry. At the end of the day, their main mission is to shield us and the environment from the unintended consequences of everything we do.
All right, let's dive into their first big mission, site remediation. This is where they become the ultimate cleanup crew, getting their hands dirty, so to speak, dealing with contaminated land and water head-on.
This really lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got a huge problem, say a leaky tank at an old gas station. And on the other, you have the engineer's goal. Figure out a system to not only clean up the mess that's already there, but crucially, to make sure it doesn't spread any further.
So, how do they pull it off? Well, it's a super systematic playbook. First, they investigate. They're like environmental detectives, taking samples to figure out exactly what they're dealing with. Then, they hit the drawing board and design the entire cleanup system. After that, they're on site overseeing construction. But they're not done yet. They have to constantly monitor the site to make sure their plan is actually working. And get this is straight from an engineer who's out there doing the work. They're the ones taking the samples, running the numbers, and making the big calls on whether to launch a full-scale cleanup or to just keep an eye on things. It's this perfect mix of hands-on fieldwork and high-level strategy.
Okay, next up is a big one, solid waste. Now, you might just think a landfill is, well, a big hole in the ground for trash. But you'd be wrong. A modern landfill is actually a complex piece of engineering.
And this slide shows the night and day difference. The old way was literally just a dump, an open pit. The new way? It's an engineered landfill. It's a highly controlled, sophisticated facility that's been meticulously designed to seal off all that waste from the outside world.
I mean, just look at the process. First, they do a deep dive on the local geology to find the safest possible spot. Then they install these heavy-duty liner systems to stop leaks. They also have to build plumbing to collect contaminated liquids, that's called leachate, and to manage dangerous gases. And even when the landfill is full, they cap it and keep monitoring it for decades.
This quote just nails the reality of the job. It's definitely not a boring desk job. One day you're hiking 20,000 steps across a landfill doing inspections. The next day you're deciphering programming code for a gas flare system. The variety is insane, and it's clearly super challenging work.
Now we get to the really cool next-gen part of the job. Environmental engineers aren't just burying trash anymore. They're figuring out how to turn it into a resource. This is where cutting-edge manufacturing and sustainability really start to connect.
So here's the brilliant idea. All that decomposing garbage in a landfill produces methane, which is a really potent greenhouse gas. So instead of letting it escape, these engineers design systems to capture it. Then, they can either refine it into clean, renewable natural gas or just burn it to generate electricity. They are literally turning trash into treasure. Into power!
Okay, so you might be thinking, this sounds amazing. What does it actually take to become one of these problem solvers? Let's open up the toolkit and see what you need.
First up, education. A bachelor's degree is the most common starting point. You can see over half the people in the field have one. But look at this, almost a third go on to get a master's degree. That tells you this is a field where deep, specialized knowledge really pays off.
And speaking of paying off, it's a career with some serious earning potential. We're looking at a national average salary of over $88,000 a year.
That reflects the high level of skill and responsibility that comes with the territory.
But here's the best part. It's a field that's actually growing. A projected job growth of 12.5% over the next decade is huge. That's way faster than average, which means society needs more of these experts, and the jobs are going to be there.
You also need a really diverse set of skills. It's this blend of hard tech skills and soft people skills. You have to be a wizard with software like CAD for design and GIS for mapping. But you also have to be a great communicator and a team player, because you're constantly working with scientists, government regulators, and the public.
And the career itself, it's not static. It grows and changes with you. The job you have in your first year looks totally different from the job you'll have a decade or more into your career.
People often talk about it as moving from boots on the ground to the boardroom. When you start out, it's all about field work, collecting samples, managing data, writing reports. But as you gain experience, you graduate to bigger picture stuff, managing entire projects, designing complex systems, and even shaping business strategy for your company.
But really, at the end of the day, it's about more than the tech and the salary. This is the heart of it. It's a career where you can see your direct impact on the health of your community and the planet. And that feeling, knowing you're part of the solution, that offers a kind of job satisfaction that money just can't buy.
Which leads us to one last big question for the future. As next-gen manufacturing gets smarter, cleaner, and more automated, the goal isn't just managing waste anymore. It's about eliminating it completely. So the next great challenge is, how will environmental engineers help us design waste out of the system from the very beginning? That's the next frontier.